My name is Chloe Friedman, and I'm a public relations and communications professional. I may not have all the answers, but I'm willing to find them out with you. I'll help you communicate with yourself and others to find your goals and reach your dreams. I'm an expert in organization and prioritization. Visit winggirlpr.com for more information and follow me on Instagram at winggirlpr. Now, take the journey and find your wings. Hello, and welcome to the Find Your Wings podcast, the inaugural episode. I'm your host, Chloe Friedman, with Wing Girl and Wing Girl PR. Today, I wanted to talk about following your gut. And this is kind of crazy times. I'm coming to you from the middle of a world pandemic. So by the time this podcast is released, we will hopefully be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of the pandemic or be out of it. We can only hope for positivity for the future. But in following your gut, it's the perfect topic and most realistic for me to start on because it's truly what I'm doing now. Following your gut is the reason why I wanted to even begin this podcast in the first place. It's something I've always thought about doing, or, maybe said, oh, that could be fun, or, hey, I might have a knack for that, but never really had that internal drive, that gut feeling, that knowingness, and that readiness to do it. So when this world pandemic hit, which is the coronavirus, something inside of me wanted to connect with people in a way that I've never connected with people before. I always have loved video. I've loved recording audio and music, but I've never used voice audio and storytelling and truth-telling to share my thoughts or my story with anybody in this capacity. So this is something new. And I'm so excited for this journey and so thankful that you are listening. So thank you for being here. When you follow your gut and you act on it immediately, amazing things can happen. Now, I'm not saying the doors just open up as soon as you decide to follow your gut, but it does make that next step more accessible and easier to you. So I want to help you recognize this feeling that I had now with beginning this podcast, and identify what it is you want to chase, whether it be a dream job, a relationship, career change, moving cities, friendships, whatever it might be. The first most natural place to start is, what does following your gut feel like, right? You hear the term all the time. People say, oh, just go with your gut. Don't think with your brain so much. Follow what you're feeling. But how do you actually do that? Is it as easy as it's said? So I do believe that following your gut, it looks different for everybody. So some people have shared with me that they've had dreams. And it might come to them in their dreams. They've dreamt this, a recurring dream. They, had a really strong realistic dream, and they were happy in the dream, and they said, wow, that's the direction I need to go. Some people have prayed on it, and it comes to them in prayer or in meditation. One friend recently actually shared with me that she had physical symptoms. So she was facing a huge fork in the road. Do I go this way or do I go this way? She had quit her job, wanted to move out of the state, move in with someone who she'd been in a long-term relationship with. She started getting physical body symptoms, panic attacks, not being able to sleep, shaking, all those signs of anxiety and panic. And she said, my body made the decision for me. So that would be an example of when following your gut comes out through your physical being. Some people, all they can think of is excessive, obsessive thoughts, and they just think, I need to do this. I need to do this over and over and over, and it's driving their every moment until they act upon it. For me, it is more of a knowingness and a sureness. So being able to identify the difference between want and readiness. Wanting something doesn't necessarily mean you are ready for it, but I've been able to identify the difference. So I do want to share with you a story of the first time that I truly recognized this feeling. This was about 5 years ago now, 4.5 years. I was 25 years old at the time, and I had just gone through a big breakup. I was living with a guy, and he actually, decided to end the relationship, wanted me to move out. We had gotten a puppy together. My whole world was turned upside down in a matter of minutes. So I called my parents, packing my bags, and said, this relationship, it's ended. Can I move in with you guys temporarily while I wait to make my next move? Now, for years prior, I had always just toyed with the idea of moving. I was born and raised in the same town, never had left. I was very comfortable there, had a lot of great business connections, had a lot of great friendships. My family, who's important to me, is here. Why leave? The thought of getting out is good, something I thought I should experience, but I never had that feeling of readiness. So I am here at a fork in the road, and I'm sitting at dinner with one of my former bosses. Now, my career has been in marketing and communications. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. It is absolutely my calling. I love helping the company I work for, helping other small businesses. It's definitely a passion of mine. So this particular former boss of mine, I was their digital marketing manager. And so we're at dinner, and he says, what if you create your own communications and marketing and PR business, and I can be your investor to help get you set up, and then we can be your primary client. So for anybody who's a visionary or dreams of having their own entrepreneurship and their own company and following their passion, and this is a dream opportunity, right? Big client and you're getting an investor, that is a win-win in my mind. But I could not agree to it for some reason. I something inside of me was telling me to tell him at that dinner conversation, you know what? I can't. I can't. And I wasn't able to articulate why I couldn't just yet. But I went home that night, and I remember just sobbing. I cried. And usually when I am at the verge of my readiness coming to fruition, for some reason, I just sob because I say, I can't do what I'm doing, what I've been doing. I have to do this. And in that moment, I was so sure that that is what I needed, what I had to do, what I was absolutely 100% ready for. So I called him and I said, you know what? I am moving. So I can't accept this opportunity. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity, but I don't know, at this point, what my move will bring. I explained, I don't know if it is the job that I'm looking for, the future husband that I'm looking for, if it is Nashville's Music City. So I've always been a songwriter and a musician. If it's that I'm looking for, I don't know what it is, but I know I have to be there. So when you decide that it's time to kind of harness this feeling, you then think, what do I do? So it was in that moment that I decided I was going to harness my gut feeling and act upon it. So this is the first time I unknowingly ever did this, and for the last about 4.5 years of my life, I have strongly practiced the art and act of following your gut. I've been able to harness what became my dream job, which I am still in nearly 4 years later. I didn't even know it was waiting for me out there. I was able to use following my gut to get a higher education. At this point in time, I am 1 month away from earning my master's degree in business administration, which is something I always thought was just a far dream that I could never or would never do. And I was able to find my dog, who became my best soulmate companion. And it was all timing and a gut feeling. So now I have mastered this art. So I really want to help you master it too, because the things that you want are out there when you listen to yourself and you follow the instinct that you're being guided from within. So when I moved, I set 3 goals. So if you're able to identify what your gut is telling you to do, it might seem a bit daunting as to what to do next. So for me, I found that if I just set 3 goals, it helps guide those next steps. So I'll give you the example of when I moved to Nashville. My first goal that I set for myself, which I actually, in this process of moving, I quit my job. I had a really good job working for a healthcare system in their marketing department. I quit my job and I was going to move without a job. That is how certain I was that that is the right move for me, that this is going to happen, because I said, you know what? I don't know what my job is going to be. I'm not waiting until I find a job. I'm going, because you have to act right when you feel the feeling, and the steps will come. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm going to go and I'm going to find the job once I'm there. So number 1 goal for me obviously was finding a job. Now, that's not to say just move and, live out of your car or live off the streets or go homeless or, have no money for necessities to live. You do want to make sure when you're acting on your gut that you can do it safely. So I did have a security net. I built up a good chunk in my savings account. So I knew that, I could survive a couple months paying all my living, groceries, and rent just purely out of my savings while I focused on finding a job. So I did set myself up, because I've had that want for quite a while, to move. So I said, well, I might as well start banking for the day that I feel ready. So number 1 was finding a job, number 1 goal of my 3 goals. Number 2 was finding friendships. It's so important to connect, and especially in a new city. That was a huge goal for me. And number 3, as a songwriter and musician, I wanted to find places to perform and people to write songs with in Nashville. So that was my 3rd goal. So then what you do once you have identified, okay, I have this gut feeling, it's telling me to do this, in my case, move, then you identify your 3 goals. So finding a job for me, finding friendship, then finding places and an outlet and people to write songs with. Truly, once you've identified your goal, you just simply break it down into what are the small steps that I need to do that will help me achieve that goal. So yes, all of the above. What I started doing was signing up for every young professional group I could, because I said, you know what, there's going to be people there. They're in the networking mindset. I can tell them I'm new. I'm looking for a job. Here's my skill sets. I'm a communications professional. I put myself out there on sites like Indeed, Monster. I ended up finding my job through a site. And you just keep following the little breadcrumb of trail. So now what I want to tell you is one of the most crazy and interesting parts of this story. It was getting down to the wire. It was about a month and nothing yet. I knew that I could comfortably live off of just my savings. However, it is very uncomfortable when you do not have any income coming in. and you just see your money going to pay rent, to buy groceries. I also was in a brand new city, so I did not want to hinder myself. I wanted to go have fun. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go out, buy the drinks, buy the dinner, and live it up, because you only have this one opportunity to show up. And so the craziest part of the story, I finally found something super promising. It was actually a job with Amazon. And they said, yep, it's kind of in the events and communications world. It was a really good pay. They were going to send me to Dallas to train. I had the offer sitting on the table. Now, the piece of this that I didn't share yet is that I was being driven by my gut to have a job where I could have remote capability. I had never been happy in an office. I always felt jailed. It hurt my creative energy. I just needed something where I could have that capability to work from my home and be less micromanaged as far as a time schedule goes, be more productive, because for me, I know that as a marketing and communications professional, I've always done a lot of work from home and I'm super productive that way. So I knew that that's right for me. So Amazon has this offer. She calls me, tells me this is when you'd go to Dallas to train. Here's the kicker. It was a 6-month job. So at the end of that 6 months, I could either be offered a job, which was not promised. They said, we can't promise you a position. We do not know what the future holds, but it's really awesome opportunity to get in with a major company. So I was then again faced at a crossroads. I said, let me please call you back and just take the night to think about this. So what did I do? I asked my gut self. I said, what do I need to do? I'd been interviewing for a few other companies now at this time, and one of which I didn't even know it had remote capability when I applied. But the recruiter in our first conversation said, oh, I work from home and I love it. Now, I didn't know much about this company, didn't have the Amazon name to it, but it was a job where I knew I felt comfortable doing the job. I knew that I had a good vibe from everyone I'd spoken to thus far, but I was just not down the road far enough along in my interview process with that company to know anything for certain. But I woke up the next day and followed my gut, and I called the woman with the Amazon job and I said, you know what, thank you, but I'm going to have to pass. And I'm sure she thought I was crazy. So another day or two goes by. I had one more call with the company, and this is now the company I've been with for almost 4 years. And it turns out I was offered the job. So saying no to something so that you can have your yes come in is also another huge piece. So I want to repeat that. Saying no so that you can have your yes come in. So actually, in this case, saying no to something allowed my yes to come in. And I want to talk more about that subject in a future episode because I think it is so important. And it's so important to learn the power of practicing and saying no. And that is something I've struggled with my whole life as a people pleaser. And so I want to take you along my journey of improving in that. And we can do it together and learn it together. But in any time I've practiced the power of saying no, my yes has come. It's exactly what they say. When you close one door, another does open. So it allows that door to open. So fast forward almost 4 years now, I have been at my job. I did end up moving back from Nashville. However, my job allows me to travel. I've seen more states in the U.S. than I have in my whole life in just the past year. So that's been super neat. I also get to split my time between Nashville and my hometown, which is absolutely ideal. And it is the solution I did not knew I ever needed or my life could ever look like. So I am on an airplane literally once a month, going back to Nashville. It is my second home, but I also have the comfort of knowing I have a long-term place back in my hometown. So these are all things that I had no idea could even come or be possible, or how exciting my life could look. But it all came down to just one night, one sobbing feeling at the end of a dinner, of feeling like I had to go, like I had to just chase something crazy that was inside of me. And it led me to this very point right here. So following your gut is that turning point and that turning moment in your life that can literally change the entire course and the entire path of your life. I'm going to end on that note, and I will elaborate. There's some stories in here that definitely have some more story behind them and some fantastic lessons I have learned, but I want to leave you with that thought on following your gut, finding your 3 goals, breaking down those goals to follow the small steps that you can take each day to achieve the goal, and letting your gut lead you to that turning moment in your life. Thank you so much, guys. Love ya.